Okay, so this is going to be a short tutorial to help you with the last part of the plate tectonics lab. And so in that part of the lab, you're going to be asked to do some calculations. And so here are the calculations that you'll have to do. You'll have to do a rate problem, a time problem, and a distance problem. And so as you can see, the math here is not very challenging for you. You're just dividing or multiplying. The two things we'll have to consider are the units and the metric system. So when we think about these problems here, these are the units that are typically associated with those. Rates, at least for the calculations we're doing, will be in centimeters per year. That's about how fast plates move. Our time will be in years, and our distance will be in either meters or kilometers. And so the problem comes in making sure that we have the correct units. Either the question asks for a specific unit, but you're given values in a different unit and you have to convert. Or occasionally, like for the time problem, you'll be given a distance in kilometers and a rate in centimeters per year. We can't do this math operation with two different units. It would be like trying to multiply 3 feet times 4 inches. We wouldn't do this math before we converted one so that it was the same. So we could convert feet here to inches. We change this from 3 feet to 36 inches, and then we would do the math. The same is true with the metric system. So we have to be aware of those things. Now, the metric system is a base 10 system. It's based off the meter. And so when you hear terms like a kilometer, it's just telling you that it's 1,000 meters, right? So it's based off this meter. And so for centimeters, there's actually 100 centimeters that make up every 1 meter. Now, for us, we're mostly going to convert between kilometers and centimeters. And so we can give you this conversion here that shows 100,000 centimeters is equivalent to 1 kilometer. So to keep it kind of simple for us, what you'd have to do if you were looking at a problem is if you needed to convert from kilometers to centimeters, you would multiply that value by 100,000. And of course, if you were going from centimeters to kilometers, you would divide by 100,000. So let's take a quick look at a problem. If I gave you this problem where I wanted you to calculate a rate, but the rate has to be in centimeters per year, and the values you're given are in kilometers, 2,000 kilometers, and years. So hopefully you'll see that the kilometers is not in the correct units. I need to convert to the correct units first. So I would recommend always converting to the proper units first, then do the math. Now, when we look at the math, we can see it's pretty easy, right? It's 2,000 times 100,000. Why times 100,000? Well, I'm in kilometers. I want to go to centimeters. If I'm going kilometers to centimeters, it tells me to multiply by 100,000. And that's what I've done. But what's really happening here, if we plug in the units, we have 2,000 kilometers here. I'm really multiplying by a fraction. 100,000 centimeters divided by 1 kilometer. And because I'm doing this, if you look, right, these two are equivalent. It would be like if I had 12 inches here and 1 foot here. Those are exactly the same distances. So I'm not technically changing the distance, I'm just converting from kilometers to centimeters. And if we remember our math, we say we treat our units just like we treat numbers. If I have kilometers up here and kilometers down here in a fraction, I can cancel those. And then I end up with centimeters. And so this is why I'm doing this multiplication. So my answer is in centimeters. 200 million centimeters is exactly the same distance as 2,000 kilometers, just in a different unit. Okay, and so now we can do our math, right? We take our distance, 200 million centimeters, and we divide it by our time, which was given as 20 million. When we do that, we get 10 centimeters per year. Because we converted first, we were in centimeters, we got the correct answer in centimeters, right? So be aware of this issue, especially when you do a time calculation, right? You will be given potentially, right, a distance in kilometers and a rate in centimeters per year. So in order to make this work, it's kind of like this problem. You can't do the math until these two units are the same. So as an example, we would take our distance and change it to centimeters. What do we do? Kilometers to centimeters, we're going to multiply by 100,000. So we would take our distance value, multiply it by 100,000, and then divide by the rate. The units should cancel, and you would get time in years. Okay, so hopefully this will help if you used the metric system before and you're very familiar. Hopefully this is just a review. If you struggle a little bit with it, hopefully this has helped you. So good luck with the problems, and as always, you can always contact me if you have any issues with the problems in the lab.